My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I was 27 years old when the moment that changed everything finally arrived. The night it happened looked perfect on the surface, elegant, expensive, carefully staged. Soft lighting reflected off polished glass, and the atmosphere felt like success wrapped in silk. From the outside, it looked like a celebration. Inside, it was something else entirely. Beneath the smiles and crystal glasses, there was an uneasiness I had grown used to ignoring. We were seated in a luxury restaurant high above the city, floor-to-ceiling windows showing a skyline that screamed power and permanence. This was supposed to be our engagement dinner. At least, that's what everyone called it. His parents sat nearby, poised and observant. His business associates offered rehearsed nods and polite grins. And I sat there feeling less like a future wife and more like a display piece. When he stood up to toast, he looked completely at ease. Confident. Comfortable in the spotlight. He raised his glass, laughed, and then said the sentence that cracked the entire evening in half. "If you mess this up, don't worry, I've got a backup fiancé." The laughter came instantly. Too fast. Too smooth. Like everyone had been trained to react that way. Every second of it landed squarely on me. I didn't smile. I didn't react. Because in that one sentence, months of quiet disrespect suddenly lined up behind him, ready to testify. I looked straight at him, really looked at him, and calmly said, "Okay. Bring her out." The room froze. No one knew if I was joking or daring him. He, however, laughed louder, pleased with himself, snapping his fingers as if this were all part of the show. From near the bar, a woman stepped forward. She was composed, attractive, and clearly prepared in ways I had never been told about. In that moment, something inside me clicked into place. I stood up, smoothed my dress, and walked toward her without hesitation, without anger. The engagement ring, once a symbol of promise, now a measure of truth, felt heavy in my hand. I gently placed it into hers. As she stared at it, confused and unsure, the room went silent. When she tried to slide the ring onto her finger, the silence thickened until you could hear a pin drop. That silence wasn't accidental. It was recognition. People were finally seeing what I had been living with, the cruelty disguised as humor, the way my worth had always come with conditions. He rushed to explain, claiming it was just a joke. But jokes don't embarrass the person you claim to love, unless embarrassment is the goal. I spoke softly, but my words carried. I said I refused to be anyone's option, replacement, or safety net. I said respect doesn't mock commitment, and love doesn't keep substitutes waiting nearby. I thanked everyone for attending and told them the night had revealed exactly what it needed to. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply walked away from a table that had never truly made room for me. As I left, people watched, not with pity, but with understanding. Outside, the cool night air hit my skin like a reset button. I stood still for a moment, focusing on my breathing, realizing how long I had been holding it in. This wasn't a sudden decision. It was the result of countless moments, my achievements brushed aside, my goals laughed off, my loyalty treated as an expectation instead of a gift. He valued control over partnership, certainty over respect. That night, he lost both. I went home alone, sat on the edge of my bed, and let the weight of what I had done settle in. It wasn't regret, it was gravity. I knew there would be fallout, conversations, and stories told without my voice included. But for the first time, the outcome felt honest. I had chosen myself, publicly and without apology. That choice would echo far beyond that restaurant, beyond that ring, beyond the man who believed laughter could hide disrespect. As the city outside my window kept moving, I understood something new. Silence can hold power. Dignity can be louder than shouting. And walking away can be the strongest answer of all. The next morning, I woke up to a quiet that felt unfamiliar, not empty, but settled. My phone was overflowing with missed calls and messages, but I didn't rush to respond. The scene replayed in my mind. His laugh. His words. My calm reply. The moment I handed over the ring and watched the room fall silent. That moment had already started traveling, through whispers, retellings, and quiet conversations. What surprised me wasn't other people's shock. It was how light I felt. For years, I had been shrinking myself to fit inside a version of love filled with conditions. I ignored the warning signs, the jokes about how easily I could be replaced, the way my opinions were optional, the constant reminder that I should feel grateful to be chosen. That night stripped away the decorations and exposed the foundation beneath. And once you see the cracks, you can't pretend the structure is sound. When I finally read his messages, they were long and chaotic, apologies tangled with blame, explanations laced with anger. He said I humiliated him, that I turned a harmless joke into a spectacle. That's when I realized we spoke different languages. To him, respect was automatic. To me, it was mutual and protected. I didn't reply. Silence had already said enough. Over the next few days, pieces of the aftermath reached me. His parents were furious, not at what happened, but that it was seen. His business partners grew distant, unable to forget what they'd witnessed. And the woman he called his backup reached out to me. She said she hadn't known the full truth, that she felt used as part of a power play, and that she returned the ring. I respected her honesty. In another version of this story, we might have been turned against each other. Instead, we both walked away from the same illusion. What he never knew, and what made his confidence so fragile, was that while he joked about replacements, I was quietly building a future without him. Weeks earlier, I had accepted a senior position at my firm, an international role he dismissed as unrealistic and inconvenient. I hadn't told him. I wanted to see if he would ever ask. If he would ever support my growth instead of tolerating it. He never did. Packing my apartment felt symbolic. Each box was a decision I no longer needed to justify. When I left the city, it didn't feel like escape. It felt like arriving late to my own life. The new role challenged me, strengthened me, reminded me of who I was before I learned to make myself smaller for someone else's comfort. My confidence returned, not loudly, not for show, but steadily. Months later, we crossed paths again at an industry event. He looked surprised, then unsettled, like he expected me to still be carrying the aftermath while he stood untouched. We exchanged polite words. He tried to laugh it off, calling it a misunderstanding. I listened. Then I told him calmly that moments reveal character, and his had revealed everything I needed to know. I wished him well and walked away, not in anger, but in completion. This was never a story about revenge. It was about clarity. About what happens when someone tries to reduce you to an option and you refuse the role. If you're hearing this and you've ever been made to feel replaceable, remember this: anyone who keeps a backup doesn't understand commitment. And anyone who laughs at your worth has already removed themselves from your future. Choosing yourself doesn't always earn applause, but it always brings peace. And if stories of quiet strength, self-respect, and turning points resonate with you, subscribe, because the next story might be the reminder you didn't know you needed.